pens here.
Awesome. Awesome. All right.
So I've no idea what kind of questions you want to ask me. So this is all off the cuff. It's going to be organic.
Yeah, organic is good. I can always edit this down.
Yeah.
So I am Evan Rosenberg. I run Penquisition with my father, Julian, and I'm speaking with Ben Walsh of Gravitas Pens, who I worked with on the upcoming Touchstone pen.
Yes. So yeah, thank you for the introduction, Evan. So yeah, we were lucky enough to be sat beside each other, and this is how this all began. From you know that was a mistake. I wasn't even meant to be sitting there.
No? Where were you supposed to be?
Downstairs. Um,
That makes more sense.
yeah. First of all, when I got there, I was like, I'm not on the map.
To reset, this was at the DC Pen Show 2022,
Yeah.
which was my first time as an exhibitor at DC, and I think yours as well, Ben.
Yeah, my first time.
But at the DC show, for the unfamiliar, there's usually like kind of a pen maker room. It's usually this other room off to the side. Last year, the hotel was renovating, and so it was actually downstairs, like just kind of in a basement where they crammed all the pen makers.
Yeah.
But Ben and I were both in the middle of the main ballroom floor, next to each other.
Yeah. I suppose you should have been downstairs with me as well. So we would have probably.
I don't know. That's I don't know if I'm considered a, because I'm a maker, but am I a pen maker? I'm not a pen maker. Well, now I am, but
Yeah. Yeah. So like, at what point do you become a pen maker or a pen manufacturer? Because I used to make my own pens, and then
yeah.
I went into manufacturing pens. I get other people to make them for me. So am I a pen maker? Am I a manufacturer? I still have my workshop. I still make my own pens, and
Sure.
I still do all the old prototyping type of stuff. But when it comes to the production and having things made and produced, I work with manufacturers and specialist machining shops to get everything done because I know my limits. I know what I can and I know what I can't do. And if I need something done, luckily I have really, really smart people that I know and really intelligent machinists and some fantastic people in the industry that are very knowledgeable that help me and then I can help help you.
That's appreciated. Is it, what, one of these days, I mean, I'm actually, I hear my 3D printer running behind me, but I 3D print things in house. This is my upcoming pen view pen block. But one of these days I might 3D print a pen. But making the type of pen that we talked about at DC last year, which we'll get to in a moment, the Touchstone. That's not something that
Yeah,
I can just turn around and make in the back of my office.
yeah. You can only really make a representation of what it will look like, but it won't function very well.
Yeah,
And usually the threads are really bad. It's just the way that you'd have to do a very, very fine nozzle and really slow print. And
yeah,
even at that, it's risky because uh, in theory, threads are sharp, but in
yes,
practice, with a if it's an FDM filament printer, it's rounded. It's very inaccurate when we
yeah.
get down to the microns. So it makes it very difficult. But you can absolutely do representational models because I do that all the time. So I didn't actually do it with yours. We just kind of like came up with that real quick. But I'll usually 3D print the shape and hold it in my hand. I'm like, that's good. I think
That's
that's how I
smart.
know if it's good to go. And I'll also, if I'm developing a mechanism, I'll scale it up 5 times
Nice.
and 3D print it out, and then I'll know where if there's any interactions anywhere, if anything's sticking, or if I need to fix something. So that's how the 3D printer can be very useful.
Back in 2021, that we actually started talking online, maybe a year and a half before the pen show.
Yeah, yeah.
We started talking in 2021. I don't
Mm,
know if you recall, but there were times when actually we were talking. I think I would show you like the nibs I got, things like that, and you had actually offered to work with me on designing a pen
yeah,
previous to
yeah,
the DC show. And I always kind of took that as like, oh, here's this big pen maker just being super polite. They say, oh, thank you, and kind of moved on. But when we were at the DC show, we're sitting together for a weekend and chatting, and that's when finally the Touchstone took shape.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I was genuine in the first offer.
I
I
believe you. Yeah,
Yeah, like I've designed pens for dozens of people. A lot of people I'm happy not to talk about it or say anything. Some companies just want me to keep quiet, and I do. That's the nature of what I'm doing. But
sure.
you're happy to let everybody know we're working together on this. I was gonna, it was going to be a little bit difficult to deny because of how the style is very similar to some of my other pens. So there would have been a
Yeah.
lot of questions asked. So better
No,
to better to come clean.
I see it as it's this pen because it's you and I worked on the design. You did, we came up with the concept, I should say. You did the actual design work based on the concept we came up with together.
Yeah.
But also the nibs have been engraved and came from Jonathan Brooks. We've got the pen sleeves from Rickshaw. I mean, I like the fact that this project came together with a lot of different people in the pen community and
Mm.
bringing together expertise from the experts, I should say. So people knowing that, you did the design work, great. I want them to know.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, no, I do appreciate that. I do appreciate that. Like I genuinely don't care if people know what I'm up to or what I'm not up to. Um, but it's nice. It's nice when you do get a bit of recognition for
Sure.
some of the work that you're doing.
So,
So,
speaking to the concept though, the concept of the pen itself, what what it came down to, what we were talking about was that, I was kind of lamenting a bit about what I wish I could find in a pocket pen, which is there are
mm,
some great pocket pens out there, and it's great that you've got more and more pocket pens using larger nibs because, personally, with the size of my hands, I find I need a larger nib because otherwise my hand is too close to the paper and I'm getting in my own way writing.
yeah,
But even with larger nibs on pens, there's so many pocket pens just in an effort to be smaller, have thinner sections, or of course, you've got the compromise of they won't take a full converter. You have to either just use a cartridge and go with what's in a cartridge or syringe fill it, or there's a couple of mini converters out there. Caveco and Monteverde both make them, but they're not great converters.
yeah,
you
yeah,
know so we were talking about the idea of a pen that's not a quote unquote pocket pen, but a compact pen, a pocketable pen that has a wider section, has space for a converter, something that you can carry with you, but isn't going to have those same compromises.
yeah. It's interesting though that you were able to describe with words. There was no sketch. It was just an idea, a concept, just a verbal concept. And from that, I was able to figure out exactly what you wanted because of how simple, the idea was. It needs to be able to fit the converter, but still needs to be pocketable and not really tiny. Doesn't have to be super skinny. Uh, so that was all I needed to go and do what I did.
And that
Uh,
was super cool. I feel like you just came down with the laptop later that day and you had it all sketched out. I
yeah,
mean, I was impressed.
yeah. See, I have the nib and converter file already drawn up, ready to go
Nice.
because I draw around. You build a car around an engine. You build a pen around the important parts. The engine is the nib and the converter. So that's all you need. So once you have that, you do your section, you do your body, and you do your cap. And if you know your overall length, you can figure things out afterwards. And that's it. I say it's as simple as that, but that's how I do it. I literally build around the major components. I don't work the other way around where I make a lovely shape and then try to fit things in. I fit things around the important parts.
Sure.
And that's how easy it was with what you wanted to do. It's always a concept that we want a converter in a pocket pen, but to do it makes it too big. But there, you can still push the limits on, and we did
Yeah.
because we really did push the limits of what can fit in.
I'm sure people are going to hold them up against other pens and say, well, this pen isn't a pocket pen and it's smaller than this one. That's why I'm calling it, it's a compact pen. I'm
Yeah,
not saying
like
it's a pocket pen, but it's something
yeah,
that still fits in your pocket.
like it's that is it. Besides pocket pen,
It's
and
not too
I
much
think
bigger.
no, not at all. So it's maybe 20 mil taller than a Kaveco Sport. Um, So it's exactly 122 millimeters from tip to tip, from point to point.
Great.
And I think when it is posted, it is 139.98 millimeters. So 140 millimeters, which is pretty
Yeah.
good. And it's a very generous section as well. The shape also has room in the future for number eight nib, because of how big you wanted it to
Yeah.
be, how wide. The number eight nib can be put in the air very easily. So uh,
There's
ha-
definitely, I know you know, because we've been talking, but there's definitely some thoughts in the future. I'm looking forward to seeing how everybody receives these, because there's a lot that I would like to do in the future if
yeah,
the pen's well received.
it will be. It will be. Be confident.
When the pen, that's what my wife always reminds me talking to my kids. Don't say if, say when. So when the
Well,
pen is well received, there's a lot
yeah,
I'd like to do in the future.
yeah. Like for your first pen, it's pretty cool. Like it's a pretty good start. My first pen, my flagship pen, it was very well received.
Mhm.
It wasn't really that new of an idea. It was a pretty, generic shape. There was nothing overly special about it. And that was well
Got
received.
that right here.
Yeah. So this
This is, I
is,
think, a couple revisions in, but yeah.
oh yeah, yeah. But yeah, so this is a completely different concept to any other pen. So it's not, you're not following the crowd. You're definitely making your own splash here. So
Well, making what I want to what I want to carry myself, and hoping that other people want to carry the same.
yeah, that's exactly how my flagship came to be. So I made a pen that I want. And
Yeah,
somehow people liked it. But as you get further into pen making, you have to understand that what you want isn't what everybody else wants. So you have to design to majority of the population, or you have to be as universal as possible. So there's big hands and there's small hands, and then there's hands in between, and you kind of have to try navigate and make certain pens for certain types of people. And even when it comes down to the nibs, you have to, sometimes people want gold, and that's
sure.
just that. There's no compromise. Sometimes people want uh, flex nibs. There's the big argument on clips. I don't even get into those arguments. What I do, my style, I wouldn't say it's generic, but it's similar to other styles,
Yeah,
and it's hard to get away from that.
I think you're
But
more
spoke that
minimalistic, which there's only so many ways to be. When you go more minimal, there's only so many ways to differentiate at that point.
I like my complications now as well, but
Sure, sure.
I always will want to keep the outside of the pen as clean as possible. For me personally, less can go wrong if it's nice
Yeah,
and clean. It's kind of like back in when I was a kitchen designer. Uh, there's two types of people. Someone that wants a crazy kitchen, all these mad things that the drawers open on their own and they have lights under here. And the more complications, the more that can go wrong. The best type of kitchen was the clean, simple kitchens with normal everything, and they lasted a lifetime. So the more things that can go wrong, the clip can always go wrong. They can bend, they can snap, they can be a weak point. So I don't want a weak point in my pens. I don't need any weak points. I just want it to be simple. So that's why clips for now.
absolutely.
I might get brave one day and do a clip. So
I,
I hate clips. I don't hate them. I just hate putting clips on my pens.
I,
That's,
well, speaking of complications, I like complications, but I agree with you that the more complications, the more possible points of error there are. So that's where in the design of the touchstone, I thought that the one thing I wanted to have a little bit different was that section, and to have the
yeah.
different color of the section to kind of show off, like, it just looks a little bit different. It's a little bit of an accent there. So
Yeah.
that
And it's something that I've never even considered doing myself. And it's actually such a simple idea. Do you know I've never done an aluminium section? I don't think.
no,
Oh wait, I have on the
I thought
flagships, but I stopped doing aluminium
I was gonna
sections
say I thought
for
this one was an aluminum
yeah,
section.
no, yeah, no, that does. But every one of my other pens now, I haven't really gone near aluminium in quite a while.
Yeah,
But it just worked on the touchstone. The balance was right. on
Yeah,
the touchstone. We didn't need to do anything special, simply because of the shape. It's not too long, so I didn't need to counterbalance it with the steel
right.
section. It actually is. I'm not going to show you, but it's actually really well balanced. Come on, as you can see,
Looks
it's
great.
actually it's really well balanced, and once the nib is in it, it actually balances it even better. Oh, I have no nib in it, so I'm showing a demonstration of a nibless pen, but
So I think I wrote in my blog post last week that the at the time I was writing, the pens were in Dublin, the nibs are in Silver Spring, the sleeves are up here in Baltimore. It's a global pen.
yeah, it's been everywhere. So it's actually a nice quick cap as well. I'm kind of jealous that's not mine.
You can take more credit if you like.
No, 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 no. This is the thing. I have to if I make a pen for somebody and I really like the design, I have to give it to them. I can't keep it. I'm like, oh, damn it. Kind of like that.
Yeah. Well, again, that's one of the reasons why it's important to me, at least, to associate your name with it, and make it clear, like, this is who worked on it. This is, Ben
Yeah,
worked on this design. The nibs with that are not just my logo on a nib, but are actually adjusted to
yeah,
be my logo as a nib. That was Jonathan Brooks. Taking the work, and all I did was send him my logo file and give him the idea of, I'd like to take the question mark for my logo, use the breather hole as the dot, and turn the nib into the logo. And he did that design work and made that happen.
yeah.
I
It
sent it.
really is a community pen though. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like four people in the community made this happen. So it was me, you, Jonathan, and Mark, Rickshaw. So
Yeah.
is there anybody else involved?
My father, I guess. I should give
And
him
your
some
dad, yeah,
credit.
Julian, yeah.
He signed off on everything by saying whatever you think.
All right, go on, go for it.
So I've got the sleeves here, which I went ahead and did them in the color themes of the sections, within
Yeah,
the rickshaw tag is the color of the outside of the pen.
that's awesome. And
So I
what's the inside? Have we got?
the inside matches the outside. I thought about doing the other color for the inside, and my wife told me that it would just look too busy. So
Yeah,
I
no,
trust her.
I think she
Yeah.
was right. Yeah. So I just gave you the file measurement of the pen when you were getting the sleeves made. We don't actually know if they fit in yet. I hope so.
I believe they will. From looking at it, I believe they will. Um, I mean, I trust Mark with those things. I've had other custom made things from Mark where I sent him the dimensions of a pen and he made me a sleeve for it, and they've always
Yeah.
worked out.
I guess your hands are very deceiving. It makes them sleeves look really tiny. I'm like, ooh, ooh, ooh.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what's the next big step? What's the next big pen that you're gonna make? I'm curious. Is it are you thinking of micarta? Are you thinking
Yeah.
of
That's
different metals or an
what I'd
ultim?
love to do. Ultim's great. I'm not going to say no to anything because, why say no to something and then have to, eat crow later. But you mentioned my card. What I like, especially with the name Touchstone, and thinking about that name and that feel that gives me in my hand when I say it. I want to make a pen that ages, not, that doesn't wear down, but that, the pen that I carried, when I started in fountain pens. Do I have it right here? Of course not. That would have been too convenient. But I carried a brass Kaweco Sport. This is an aluminum sport, just as a demonstration. I carried a brass sport for, I think, 2.5 years every day, clipped to my shirt. I didn't have a pocket. I just clipped it between the buttons. And watching that age over time, watching the patina develop, watching, just kind of, that pen age and grow with me. I loved that. That was my
Yeah,
pocket pen. I had all these other pens, but that one was my pen that was always right there for me. And so something with, micarta, with brass, with something that'll kind of show a bit of age and patina over time, I think would be lovely to kind of make a pen that, really grows to suit the user.
yeah. I could see a wooden version of this as well, where
Yeah.
uh, it would be interesting to play around with all sorts of materials, um, all the tactile materials, anything that
Yeah.
can age and can grow
Leather
back cheap.
comes to mind. There's a couple of leather pens out there, but not too many.
I've always wondered how would they fare out with ink? Will it not just absorb in and stain
Yeah,
it?
I mean that could be part of it, though. I do. I think some of Sailor's leather pens, Platinum's leather pens, are ruchied leather, which might impact that. Which obviously isn't the finish I'm thinking of.
Yeah. I did try dipping my Carta in Bay State Blue, and it completely turned the whole thing blue. So it will absorb ink.
Yeah,
Just
we just have to make a blue pen.
blue my Carta.
Yeah, well, denim micarta.
Yeah, I've actually seen a denim my Carta pen. Hiring from Magna Carta showed me some denim.
Uh,
He makes his own materials, you see, so he
yeah,
gets some wild looking stuff.
I almost
Uh,
bought one of his denim pens a couple years ago, and then one of his number 8 nib pens caught my eye, and I bought that instead. I expect I'll be seeing him next week in DC, so I'm looking forward to seeing what he's got.
uh, yeah, did he tell me if he's going to San Francisco as well? I think we arranged to meet up in San Francisco.
Yeah, so I guess we should say of course, the Touchstone's going to be launching in DC next week.
Yeah,
You were in DC last year, but you're not making it out to DC this year, which makes sense.
yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah. No, I've done a lot of traveling this year. I have a lot more traveling to do, and um, I have so much work to do. I would have loved to have gone to DC, uh, but I really need to focus on some of the upcoming projects that I have, and they take priority sometimes. It's not just my projects; it's other people's projects.
sure.
So if I'm in DC, that's 1 week, and 1 week that I can't do my usual work, and I just couldn't take that risk this year.
Absolutely.
So
But as you
I've got it
said,
all planned out for San Francisco, and
right, as you said, you will be in San Francisco, which is 3 weeks later.
yep, the 23rd or
Okay,
24th maybe.
so that's coming up fast as well.
Yes, it is.
Which
I'm.
I won't be in San Francisco, but maybe next year. We'll see.
We agreed that you'd be in San Francisco next year.
Did
So
we agree?
yes,
I guess I've agreed to that. So
if I'll go back and check, I'm pretty sure I got you to say that yes, you're coming next year. I'm pretty sure.
I
I would
mean,
have loved to have seen you. I would have loved to have seen you this year, but it couldn't happen. But
yeah,
next year, you're gonna have to come next year.
and, it's at the Passover Seder we always said it's saying next year in Jerusalem, so we'll say next year in San Francisco.
Yes. I have a question. Where did the name Touchstone come from? I know what it is, but is there another reason or another meaning behind it?
Oh, it is such a roundabout answer. You know, I deliberated over that for so long. There were so
Yeah,
many names I wanted that either were taken by other pens or just didn't make sense. I we designed this pen to be something that is always by your side. So I was looking for something that is like a aide de camp or something like that. Obviously that just doesn't quite make sense as the name of a pen. But I was looking for what's somebody that's by your side that is there with you that would work as a pen name that isn't already taken. And I went through a bunch of iterations, and then I started thinking about jesters because jesters kind of fill that role, but I didn't want to call it the jester, even though
yeah.
with the different colors that kind of worked. So I started looking at like, okay, what are different jesters, in literature in different places, and I hit upon, I believe it's, if I mess this up, I feel really silly, but I believe it's As You Like It. There's a Shakespeare play that has a jester named Touchstone,
Okay.
and it's not a play that I'm super familiar with. I know more of his tragedies, and Hamlet's really my favorite Shakespeare. But there was one of his plays had a jester named Touchstone. I don't know that much about the character of Touchstone, but when I read that name, I was just looking at it like that. That just works perfectly. It takes that inspiration of like a jester, somebody who's like an advisor to somebody,
Yeah,
and just the tactile sound of that name of Touchstone, holding a pen.
it
I
is a
just
pretty cool name.
it really stuck with me.
Yeah, I'm notorious for making the worst decisions when it comes to calling my pens. Oh, I think I called it one of my pens the entry pen because it was meant
Right.
to be an entry level pen.
Yeah.
And then the next pen was the Sentry because it was
Oh,
a
I
bit
thought that
bigger.
was great.
And
You need a fancy pen called the Gentry.
yeah, I'm the worst. I just call it as it is. It's a vac pen. It's made of Oldham vac.
I mean, my pen blocks. I've got the Pen Q, the Pen Skew, the Pen View. I made a little one and called it a Pen QT. You know,
Yeah.
it's a cutie. Yeah.
I think yes.
I'm not much better with names usually, but the Touchstone really resonated with me. That felt like it felt like I was figuring out the name it already had versus,
Yeah. No, it's
getting
a cool name. And it'll work with so many different materials. You're gonna have to come up with another pen design, another model at some stage, and the name is gonna have to be equally as good.
well, we'll see. It's I'll see if I can rise to the occasion. I think the next one, the next pen design will have to be a desk pen because I think there's something there with the desk pen to do. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but
When you say desk pen, do you mean them big long ones?
I do, and that not necessarily too long, but
Yeah.
just something with that, something to that end, so that
Yeah.
it sits out as a display piece on a desk.
And then you'll have to watch a few Shakespeare plays and figure out the name then.
Yeah, they'll paint myself into a corner with Shakespeare names.
But on a side note, though, I am really interested in seeing what else is going to come out of this.
Sure.
Um, you know, I started off with one pen as well, and I was more surprised that I sold every one of them within a few weeks. I think that surprised me the most, and that gave me the revenue to continue doing what I'm doing, and that's what I'm hoping will happen with your pen. You'll be surprised that a lot of people will be very interested in the pen, and you'll sell quite a lot more than you're intending. I hope.
I hope too, and I appreciate everything you're doing for me here. That this is, I think it's a testament to what makes this pen community so great. That
Yeah,
this
like
is, it's not just that four different people are coming together, within different aspects of this pen, but that this is a pen that's coming about because people in the pen community care about each other and want to make things for each other, want to help each other make things.
yeah, absolutely. So that's one of the most important things to this project, I suppose. I want to see you do something great. There's plenty of room for people to make pens in this community, and I'm never gonna stonewall anybody. I will help as many people as I can to grow this community bigger and bigger and better and better. Um, I'm not gonna keep all my secrets. I'm gonna share them with the with the people that want to know, and I'm going to teach as well. I want to show people how to do this. Um, it's difficult to figure it out on your own, but when you've got somebody to kind of guide you through the process, it's a hell of a lot easier. You genuinely had an idea and you came up with the concept. All I had to do was turn your idea into a physical idea, and we it took a year, but we got it done.
Yeah.
Uh, I
Most of
think
the year
that.
was me dragging my heels trying to name it.
Oh well, yeah. I was hoping to get this to you a lot sooner, but it is the way
I,
it is when
it's
I
the
got
perfect
sick.
timing. I think
Yeah,
that yeah, because my thought was launch it before the pen show and bring what was left to the show, but I think launching it at the show is perfect. Let people get it in
yeah,
their hands and really see it.
yeah. No, that's the best way to do it. Last year in DC, I didn't think anybody would know who I was, um, but I obviously do the odd video showing my pen, so you get to see
Mhm.
my face. And as soon as I walked into that hotel, people came over to me and said, "Are you Ben?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm
And
like,
I spent the weekend sitting next to your table. It was a sight to see.
"Yeah,
Everybody coming
yeah."
and stopping by. It was great.
Yeah, yeah. So no, it was quite humbling to. I did not expect it at all. I expected just to people to walk by me and not know who I was, and they didn't. That didn't happen. Everybody wanted to talk to me, and they were so friendly, and um, I was always at some point I was always talking to five different people at the same time, but that's just the way it is, and that's just it kind of caught me off guard that people actually did know who I was. Um, this little guy making pens in Ireland actually managed to get recognition in America, which is you know, because I still suffer from imposter syndrome even to
Sure.
this day. But even at that point, it was like maybe they do kind of like me. maybe I'm actually doing something right here, and yeah, maybe I'm still doing something right. People still want to see what I'm doing and buy my stuff, and that allows me to then create projects for other people. And at some point, though, you're not going to need me anymore. You're not going to need any of my help. You're going to be off doing everything on your own. That's my plan anyway. I want to, you know, give you all the context, all the knowledge, all the suppliers, and you just go off and you're going to have to learn how to do CAD. That's
Yeah.
the only thing.
I've got some questions for you about software and what to use, but we could do that another time.
Well, if you come to San Francisco this year, you get to see. I'd show you.
I wish I could. Let me say thank you to you, because this would not be happening without without your, obviously without you, because so much of this was the work, the design work, the manufacturing that you put into it. But
Yeah,
I appreciate that, you helping me put something together. There are so many projects I've had in the past that I've thought, if only I had a way in, this would be so awesome to do if only I
yeah.
had a way in. And just you providing that way in and letting me take this idea I had and turn it into an actual pen that people can hold and use and write with and carry is immense.
How do we end? How do we end? How do we say the endings of? I've never done one of these. I've always done podcasts, and it's
I
normally
I don't know.
they just always have a way of closing up, and like ending the show, and I have no idea how to do that.